How's it going, everybody? It's your boy Mike from the Pacific Northwest. It's the same Pacific Northwest that currently is on fire and burning to the ground. Yes, I was evacuated from my house, so in the conquest to build more rentals, there was a little bit of a question as to whether or not my first duplex was going to burn down in a fiery hailstorm of God's wrath on the planet. But luckily, even though it's still unbelievably smoky outside, I have been able to come back to my house, and now I can return to filming. So if you're wondering why you didn't get any videos from me for a little while there, it's because, I was just trying to make sure that, the end of the world didn't come and kill your boy personally. Look, I want to talk to you guys about something that happened to me that's frustrating. So for those of you who know, my channel is about the real-time process of building and acquiring wealth through investing in real estate, rentals, potentially flipping, and BRRRR properties. So I've learned a little bit in the last few weeks. I made a couple of different offers on properties and lost out on both of them. So I'm going to break those down for you in a minute, how I totally lost on a triplex I was making an offer on, and how I totally lost out on an all-cash offer that I was making an offer on. And I'm going to explain to you why I lost, what I learned from it, and even give you a little sneak peek on what Michael Zuber specifically mentioned and how he answered the questions that I had for him about what I could do differently next time and what you can hopefully do to avoid my pitfalls. Okay, so I made an offer on a triplex and it was rejected. Then I made an all-cash offer on a single-family home that needed to be completely gutted and remodeled. That was rejected, but luckily, your boy Mike is completely accustomed and used to being rejected handily. I mean, you should hear the stories about my dating life. It's just horrible. So being smacked in the face with a no is nothing that I'm afraid of, and I can get back up and keep going and somehow manage to get an offer accepted eventually. But like I said, we'll put that in a different video. I want to talk about the rejections and what happened. So first property that I was looking at, it was a triplex with the potential to be a fourplex, though I wasn't going to go that route because I don't think it would have made code. So I was going to keep it as a triplex. Two of the units were rent ready from day one. The third unit was a detached dwelling unit, and it could be made ready if I completely gutted it and remodeled that unit. So I would be able to have cash flow from day one with a positive cash flow of a couple $100s a month. And then everything that I got on that attached dwelling unit, detached dwelling unit, would be additional bonus icing on the cake for me and my cash flow. It was a wonderful deal. It would have given me literally like 80 to 90% cash on cash return. It was just a freaking cash cow, which is why I lost out to an all cash buyer. Now let me explain to you what happened and what I learned from it. So the property is listed on the MLS and on Realtor.com. It was listed for $80,000. Now they had a cash offer in hand, and we knew that going in, me and my real estate agent. I looked at it, I ran my numbers, I figured what type of remodeling I would have to do, I figured what the after repair value would be and how I could do a refinance, pull all of my initial capital out, and have a cash flowing rental property. It was a beautiful project and I was in love with it. But it was a bank-owned property.
Wow, you're already finding bank-owned foreclosures, Mike.
An REO-owned property. So the bank had foreclosed on this individual. Now, the individual didn't stop paying. He had passed away, and the tenants were still living there, and the bank was like, hey, we're not getting our payments. What the heck's going on? They go out, they find out that the owner has passed away from old age. They evict the tenants who do a little bit of destruction on their way out, and now they've been holding this property for like almost a year, and they're trying to sell it. Now, a cash buyer, who I assume was being ridiculously greedy because the asking price of $80,000, as I mentioned earlier, would have given me between a 70 to 90% cash on cash return. The asking buyer, or the all cash buyer, was trying to get it for even less. Whatever. I guess if you can, why not? So I'm assuming they offered maybe 60, 65. So the real estate agent representing the bank tells me and my real estate agent that we need to put our offer in. I offered full asking price. I had a pre-approval letter from my lender saying that it was approved for the $80,000 on that address. No big deal. But they went with a different option. What happened? So I spoke with Michael Zuber, who gave me his thoughts on it, and I'm going to share those with you here in just a minute. But what happened was they took my full price offer, they went to their cash buyer, and they said, look, we got a full price offer on the house, come up. Now the bank would rather go with a cash buyer, and why? Because they don't want to have contingencies. So with a financed offer like mine, it's contingent upon inspection. It's contingent upon appraisal. And so there's different opportunities for the bank to lose the deal if the other bank, my bank, says, you know, we don't want to buy it, we're not happy with it. So they would rather take less money and have it be guaranteed by picking up that offer with no contingencies versus mine. So they settled, and I don't know what the actual sale price was, but I know it was under full price. They went with a cash offer because they got it to come up, I'm assuming somewhere around 72 and above, 72,000 and above. So let me go ahead and cut to what Michael Zuber said.
Millennial Mike, my good friend Millennial Mike. I got my offer rejected on a triplex a couple of days ago. They used it to get their cash buyer to come up closer to full price. Any tips? I need tips on how to structure the offer differently to avoid that. FYI, it was a REO property, bank-owned foreclosure. Wow, you're already finding bank-owned foreclosures, Mike. I'm going to guess this is in your lovely state of Indiana where you're building your portfolio. Yeah, so I think there's a couple of things. When you're in this market today, again, with my experience, what we are seeing is for problem properties, which I would consider a bank-owned property a problem, it's going to be tough to get a loan because there's a lot of cash buyers. And really again, I don't know this situation, I'm just guessing based on experience, is your cash buyer was faster. And they were probably limited conditions. I don't know your situation, Mike, in this case, but I'm guessing you probably were getting a loan, which meant you had inspections and appraisal conditions. And if you are a cash buyer and you have no conditions and you're faster, it's going to be tough to compete with a loan. So realize when you're bidding on REO properties that have problems, one of the answers you might work on, Mike, is because you can still get bank loans, I believe, right? Because I think you're at 2 or 3. But you might want to set up some private or some hard money or private money if you can, so that you can appear to be a cash buyer for the triplex and then BRRRR out 6 to 9 months later with bank financing. If you are going to go after problem properties, which I consider REOs problem properties, speed and no conditions are what get yes answers. I bought plenty of REO properties over the years, and I was not the highest bidder, but I was the bidder with no conditions in speed. I remember one property in particular that I closed in 3 days, and I bid $50K less. I was $50K less than the highest bid, but I could write a check and close in 3 days. All I wanted was clean title. You just got to know what the seller wants, Mike. And if it was a bank property, they want speed and they want certainties. The other thing I just thought of, if you can get to it, is you could make you could do a bigger earnest money deposit. And if you're really ballsy, you could do a hard deposit where you don't get it back, but that's risky, right? But those are things you can think of. You just got to remember, you have to sell to the seller's needs. And most of the time it's risk and speed, not amount. Yep, follow up on my live stream. You said hard money lender to appear like a cash buyer to be more competitive. Did you mean buy with hard money then BRRRR it? Yes. Yeah, no, I would, Mike. The answer I gave you is use hard money for 3 to 6 months, depending on the bank on the other side refining you out. Some want 3 months, some want 6 months today. But yeah, I was saying buy and close with hard money. So realize you're going to pay points. You're going to pay a ridiculous interest rate. But for you, you shouldn't care about any of that. It's about getting the deal. So you're going to get pre-qualified with a lender. They're going to give you a letter saying you're approved up to X. In today's world, for a first timer like yourself, Mike, you're probably still going to have to bring 20% to the table of your own money. But yeah, you can use a hard money lender to appear like a cash buyer. And then because you can get a cheap ass bank loan, you will absolutely BRRRR it out on the other side. No question.
So what I really took away from this, because I don't want to just be a negative Nancy and bring you guys a problem and bring you guys the drama and then not have a solution for you. What I learned from Zuber was you need to understand what your seller wants. And every seller is going to be different, though banks are probably mostly the same. As I talked about earlier, they want speed. They don't want contingencies. They want to get the house off their books now and get their money. That's what the bank is concerned in. They're not going to come down on price. They're not going to negotiate. They have a guaranteed minimum that they can accept. And that's what they're trying to get or above and get the thing off their books. And so a cash buyer is positioned very well to buy those bank-owned properties, whereas a financed buyer, well, unfortunately, sometimes you win some, you lose some. So I took his advice, and me and my real estate agent, we were looking at some other houses. So the market that I buy in has a bunch of super distressed properties. I'm talking houses that maybe haven't been lived in several years, on a block that's just destroyed. And tons of investors are pouring into this market and buying up houses all over the place and remodeling the entire neighborhood. I mean, it's going to be beautiful a few years from now. Just the investment group that I'm in with my mentor, his kids, his friends, and a couple of his other friends, like the 7 or 8 of us, we own about 20-something plus properties there. Well, that can remodel a couple of nice neighborhoods. They're crappy neighborhoods and turn them into nice neighborhoods. So what I said was, okay, you know what? I'm going to try the BRRRR method, the BRRRR method. I'm going to buy, remodel, rent, refinance, and repeat. Try to pull my money out, see if I can break even or make a little cha-ching. So what I did is I looked at this nasty, disgusting, ugly house. The bones on it were good, and that's about it. The inside needed to be gutted. The roof needed to be redone. The kitchen, the bathroom, the floors, the walls, everything. Literally everything. And I was estimating, my property manager went out there and she does the construction for these remodels. She estimated around $30,000. So I put in an all cash offer, contingent on inspection. That was it. No appraisal. I don't care about any of that. It's all cash. It's $8,000 is what I was offering on this price. Their asking price was 12. We offered 8. I know, isn't this ridiculous? From the Seattle area, I'm like, that sounds like I'm buying a car. Like not even a nice, like a crappy car. Like a 20-year-old pickup truck. Anyways, so I offered $8,000 because that's what my real estate agent recommended. That's what my property manager company recommended. That's what other people were probably offering as well. But actually, I think they might have even offered a little bit less than me, but here's how I lost out on this one. I had already had that conversation with Zuber, and I knew what he wanted, but I had to do it contingent upon inspection for one reason. I needed to make sure that the electrical and that the plumbing was going to be usable. Because my $30,000 remodel, I can do, no problem, I'm fine with that. But if it's gonna all of a sudden be $50,000 because electrical and plumbing have to be completely redone in the entire house, then I've got an issue here and I can't do it. So I needed to get a contractor. I wasn't even gonna have someone do an inspection. I was gonna have a contractor go over there and give me his estimate and then verify that the pipes and the plumbing and the electrical was good to go. That was going to be my inspection. I just wanted an estimate so I could work with it, see whether or not my numbers were going to be good. And unfortunately, I lost out again, even though I was all cash, even though I said I can close as soon as they literally want. I just have to schedule the inspection. That's it. And I could have done it within a few days. Nope. They went with the people who had no contingencies, no inspection. They were willing to just buy it. I don't know if it was a big investment group or something. They were willing to just buy it and deal with the issues later, which is fine. Some people have the type of money and some people have the portfolio that can sustain purchasing a couple of bad houses if they're also buying up a ton of different ones. And this was definitely picked up by an investor. It's not even possible to qualify for owner-occupied financing, and you can't live in there. There's like a hole in the wall, right? It was bad. So I lost out on that one. 2 offers in a row, 2 rejections, no big deal. Like I said, I'm used to it. But I learned both times. So then I moved forward into my next property. So even though there was an evacuation and fires and it's all been crazy and the market's been crazy that I'm investing in, my market here has been going up in flames, no pun intended. All right, guys, like I said, the point of this channel is for me to actually explain to you what I'm learning, what I'm going through in real time, the rejections that I get, the wins that I get, the losses that I get, the victories that I get. And I don't really count this as necessarily a loss. I mean, yeah, it was a great property. I didn't get it. The other one was a good property. I didn't get it. But there's no shortage of deals out there. I know what a deal looks like because I've looked at this market over and over and over again, and I talk about it with the other investors in my group, with my mentor, with his kids, with his friends, and we look and assess deals, and we're all looking at the same types of properties in the same area, renting for the same amounts with the same margins, financing through the same lender. So we know what a deal looks like. And if I miss one, that's fine. I'll get the next one or the next one. What's important is that I just keep pushing forward and that I can recognize the value. Seeing value is the most important thing. Because as Zuber always says, and not to cite him too many times, you need to know a bad, average, good, and great deal. And you don't want to do bad or average. You want to do good and great. And that's what I'm focusing on. Anyways, guys, hopefully this video is beneficial for you. If it is, leave a comment down below, subscribe, help a brother out. I'm trying to push this out to more people. I can't believe how quickly my channel is actually growing. I'm at like 2,200 subscribers right now. Thank you to each and every one of you. And hey, we'll catch you next time.